Let's dive straight in. So first of all, tell us what you look after at TikTok, just so everyone knows.
So I lead the marketing science practice globally at TikTok, and what that means is essentially my team looks to answer two fundamental questions all of us in the room look to try to answer. Do the ads work, and why and how they work? So if you think about it from a discipline practice, you need to put three teams together very quickly. A measurement team, a research team, and a data science team. But for those teams to work together, you have to get them to work extremely closely with a product organization, a marketing organization, and really kind of making sure that clients are getting the value that they're expecting from such things that we work with. At the end of the day, hire smart people, let them do their job, and empower them.
Well, that was my next question. What does a state-of-the-art marketing science function look like? You talked about the three broad buckets of activity, but how do those team members work together? What data do they use? What do the best brands who work with TikTok want from you?
I think part of it is, if any one of you were in my shoes, I think part of it is you first want to bring in very high caliber talent, find smart people, but then what you tend to look for is you have to have practices where there's high level of operational discipline to make sure you can actually influence the way that you want to have your clients or your end users take action and decisions from the insights that you provide. To me, that's like, it's not just doing the work, but actually being accountable for the decisions and how to influence the business.
Okay. You've been relentlessly focused on outcomes.
Yes.
Is the other interesting thing about your role. Why? Why do you worry so much more about outcomes rather than, say, counting exposures?
It's actually both, but it's a journey. So let me take the clock back about four and a half years ago. So when I started, that's when TikTok was just beginning. And it was very much a question of, what is the value of TikTok? Does TikTok work? But back then, we had hashtag challenges, we had a lot of activity, we had paid and organic. So what better way to instrument a measurement technique to understand value than media mix models if it's a question of paid and organic? So it's the last 12, 15 years across ad effectiveness. That's kind of been like a playbook. So 4.5 years ago, we did globally with our partners at Nielsen. We went throughout the world, and every model we ran, we saw consistent return on ad spend and effectiveness and efficiency for TikTok. That helped us to understand where to go next, to go into deeper systems of sales effectiveness, single source systems, cross-media systems, and then going into creative. So now we're at the stage with clients to where it's not so much about saying, does TikTok work, but how to grow with TikTok. And then you get to into the question with global brands on starting to understand things around incremental reach. So it's a growth journey,
right,
but applying a measurement portfolio for the right questions at the right time.
So layered on top of that,
yes.
Does the question about outcomes vary brand by brand and country by country, market by market? Yeah. Do you see a lot of variation, or are you essentially having the same conversation?
It does, and one of the things I feel very humbled and privileged about is that the world is a big place, and the measurement questions may be the same, but the discipline and the practice, I'll give you some examples. So yes, you will have some basic core questions on what you want to expect from measurement, but how that comes to life. It's like the old Coca-Cola adage, which is like global is just a sequence of local wins. Some of the things I see in Brazil, amazingly phenomenal performance marketers that are starting to do really awesome full funnel work, and my friend Adolfo will talk about full funnel a little bit later. But it's just something to where in Brazil, they're awesome full funnel marketers, whereas in the Middle East and in Southeast Asia, they have grown with the right training because of more limited resources to understand brand equity and ad equity, so the planning is really spot on by the time they want to execute campaigns. So it may vary, but the questions are always going to be the same.
But there are pockets of excellence in different geographies. Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So the other interesting thing about measurement today is it's 100% a team sport. And yes. You mentioned Nielsen. You've built this really powerful ecosystem of measurement partners. Tell us a bit about that partnership ecosystem. Yeah. Who are the different vendors? How do they fit together?
Yeah. It's a very long list. But let me give you a high level. Because I think part of the strategy any one of us would have to do if you're in my situation is you have to have a robust set of portfolio to meet marketers where they are, whether it's first-party or third-party solutions. But as you grow and you evolve, you have to start customizing for that sophistication. So let me give you an example. It's kind of going back to our partners with Nielsen. So I very much believe that in today's marketplace, you have to build for the present while you invest in the future. So in that situation, when it comes to things like audience measurement, we're working with, we're already out of the gate and working with our friends at iSpot. We see 58% incremental reach in the early meta-analysis. But we're very much also working with our Nielsen partners because we want to expand that globally. And hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have more to announce. But I'm also very much with the team. We're active with the WFA on Project Halo, so the work that's happening with Project Origin out of the UK, or the ANA that just announced last week their collaboration with Accenture at Kantar. Again, it goes back to build for the present, deliver value today, and find pockets where we can invest for the future. But all throughout this, you have to have clients along the way to understand how they want to build their businesses.
And it's interesting because measurement's not a static thing. It
Right.
keeps changing and evolving and improving. Do you keep refreshing your ecosystem of partners?
You have to, because for example, I love some of the performance partners that are doing attribution today. So actually, a lot that media mix models, they're now becoming coming back in force, and I see a lot of innovation in the marketplace. Measurement can be very prescriptive thing that a few people kind of go deep into, but I'm very excited about all the innovation that's happening globally, especially on markets where there's less resources, because the less resources, the more intelligent planning and thoughtfulness that you tend to see from practitioners.
Okay, let's go back to outcomes. So, do you find yourself having a dialogue with the brand, the agency, your team, about where responsibility for maximizing outcomes really sits? Presumably there must be brands or agencies who come to you and you look at what they're proposing and think, based on our experience, I wouldn't do it that way. Does that come up? Do you have to advise on how best to get the most out of the platform?
It does. It comes up a lot. I can tell you what doesn't work. It doesn't work to first say, do it this way. You have to follow clients where they are and helping evolve their journey, because clients also need part of it is about trust, but they also need a journey in a certain way because they have to convince their stakeholders. To me, that kind of a journey, what I learned working at agencies, it's like client trust is not just about them, but it's about their own peers. So that means is, hey, there's a certain way we know that how TikTok works and what are the best practices. Some clients may be way ahead of the game and they're like, okay, we'll do everything that you asked us. Most clients will say, I'd love to get there, but first I have a spot that's already being created. I'm going to run it anyways. I need to see the results and help me walk through it. And the situations vary, but I do think what's important is that I need to make sure that the agency partners are very much understanding, like, not just what TikTok is, but also taking the advantage creatively. Because if you run the creative correctly, a good ad is good enough, but a repurposed ad is also okay. But an ad built for TikTok is going to perform better. But it's important to make sure that the teams are communicating throughout that journey. But ultimately, I'm going to follow to what that client journey looks like, because to me, it is a long journey that I care about those outcomes. It's not like a 3-day campaign. It's a 3-year campaign that we go through.
And I think what you're saying, in a sense, is it's not a fixed end state. This is a process of constant dialogue.
Correct.
So let's talk about the brand leaders, the brands that are really sophisticated in measuring outcomes, in using your platform and their partners to understand the effectiveness of their spend. What do the leaders do differently or better than everyone else? What's the state of the art from your point of view?
I think state of the art is, and I think one of the more time I spend in my career as a practitioner, I'm always going to follow the innovation and the science, but I do think that the organizational action matters just as much. I think what matters is you may have an inferior solution, but if you have an excellent discipline on how you're trying to create decisions off of that and create accountability throughout the way, I think that matters just as well. Whether you're using things like attention metrics or you're using advanced econometric modeling, you have to have that consequence of accountability for reproducibility. One of the things that, for example, one of my favorite clients right now is I have a client out of Brazil to where they are a very heavy performance marketer. And they were like, what's it going to take to grow? Tell us the right thing to do. And so they spent a year and a half working with us to get their creative right. We did a tremendous amount of creative research in the beginning to understand the labels and the components and how to get the creative right, how to get the right catalogs correctly. Then we worked on all the right data connections and all the right signals. So then we're like, okay, it took a year to get performance right with them. And then they're like, great, I have ROI. How do I grow? Full funnel. And they're starting to become excellent brand marketers and performance marketers. But when I was reflecting, their strategy, without having the institutional training of just having a couple of gray hairs, what they're doing is they're doing integrated marketing in the same way that was preached in the 90s,
Right.
but they're doing in such rapid scale, and their ROIs are phenomenal. But what I love is that they did not take shortcuts. They did the hard work, and their organization now understands what it takes. That to me is like a lighthouse and a best practice.
And just a brief question. On a panel earlier today, we had a conversation about the world of marketing today, reflecting both the best of times and the worst of times.
Yes.
The good news is we have more data than we've ever had before. Sophisticated marketeers can piece together consumer journeys and really understand the impact of their marketing investment. But we also have a lot of noise. We have signal loss.
Yes.
We have incompatibilities between different publishers and platforms. Presumably, you're comfortable we can make progress despite those.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely, and it's not just TikTok. I think that as an industry, we're all trying to tackle similar aspects. I think the way that I look at it a little bit at a higher level is where the state of measurement is today. We're moving away from people-based measurement into utility measurement, and what I mean by that is you see more and more of the solutions and more of the way that clients are asking questions, which is if I can have everything all tied together and every single connection. Right. I need to answer very specific questions very well. If I want to understand incrementality, how good is my conversion lift system? If I want to understand brand metrics, how good is my brand lift system? If I want to have comparability, where's my attribution or my mix models? So we're not getting to this place to where I actually see really cool innovation is for the clients that are in-housing their measurement. They're actually comfortable and they're okay with all these disparate systems, but they're training their teams on how to think about a calibration or actions based on the sequence of those systems. But along the way, partners are evolving and adopting. And yes, with our friends on product, we're also doing really great things on the measurement side.
Right.
But just as an industry, I think there's a lot of resilience throughout because here's the great thing. The questions are not changing.
Right.
It's just, are the ads working? And then how and why they're working.
So during the course of today, we're playing measurement acronym buzzword bingo.
Uh-oh.
So I thought we should introduce a new one for a few people who have the right card.
Okay.
MMM.
MMM.
So we've had a resurgence of interest of late. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of brands talking about thinking very differently or revitalizing their tools to help them make investment decisions. Why has there been this resurgence of interest?
So I think maybe in 20 years, this chapter in the book is going to be called Back to the Future.
Right.
Because mixed models have been around for many, many, many years. I think there are a couple of reasons as to why. Number one, privacy. And privacy is here to stay as a market force that is going to require a lot of the retooling in the systems. But I think there's also there's a bit of a paradox as to, will I get the same things on mixed models that I did with other things? Well, trade-offs. However, I do think that the future of measurement is going to be a lot more based on aggregate measurement systems. If you even look at the most advanced privacy-enhancing technology, it's still about aggregate measurement. I think where the innovation is happening is about having more clarity on data connections so that you can have more rapid access to some of that data that you're looking for in order to be able to accelerate things like mixed models. Now, is it the same exact thing as you had before? It may evolve, but I do think that systems like that are a precursor to where a lot of the innovation is happening again. So they're here to stay. I think there's also a lot of training and education that marketers, again, those that haven't grown up with the discipline, they have certain value. But again, there's many, many measurement solutions today that are more object-specific.
So the other discussion, obviously here at Cannes, it's a festival of creativity, is a discussion about creative effectiveness.
Yes.
And we have new ways of measuring creative effectiveness. Give us a sense again from your perspective of the state of the art. What new tools do marketers have to really understand how hard their creative is working?
I think there's a couple of components to it. I think that I've been very pleased within the research market space, the innovation and the investments on creative testing continue to grow. I think right now, for the last couple of Cannes, we've seen and we've heard around the topics of attention. I think clients and marketers are creating more sophisticated learning agendas on how to take a research construct into a measurement operation. I think there's many different ways of how clients are thinking about it. For me, at the end of the day, is for so much of the research that we've done on creative, we see that if you build for the platform, like if you do a TV spot, it's going to work on a TV campaign. You do a TikTok ad, it's going to work on TikTok. So build for the platform. But what I like about the innovation on that creative testing space is that clients are starting to spend, again, a lot more focus on get the creative right, and then
Right.
get the media right. It's not the other way around, nor is it an afterthought. But I like that the focus is coming together on creative again.
So I sometimes feel, though, again, the debate is slightly polarized. On the one hand, we love great creative. We know that great creative agencies produce incredible work. But on the other hand, we're talking about using AI tools to spit out 500 different versions of that creative, which would make lots of agency execs sort of, sleep poorly in their
Yeah.
beds. Are we running into a slight conflict there between AI-driven creativity and human creativity?
I don't think so. I think as somebody, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm different, but having come to Canada for many years, I think to me this is more of it's like a process or a tooling question as opposed to a strategy question, because time and time again I've seen it again in my career, to where as new technology comes in, there's early adopters, and then by the time it becomes more mainstream, it may not be as sexy, but it becomes highly useful. I care about solutions that can give me a lot of automation, classification, and then prediction.
Right.
But what I care a lot about is I want to make sure that there's really good strategy at the heart of it. And when it comes to, I'll give you an example. So when I've done with a team a lot of research and thinking about attention, to me it's like, well, why? Why does TikTok have a lot of attention? And you know what keeps coming up? Authenticity. It's about the tone and the context of how you're building for the community. And for me, attention is nice, but what I care a lot about is when brands are building their creative is it authentic to the platform
Right.
and the tone you want to convey? You get that right, then it helps you to unlock what the metrics you're looking for, which is things like attention and outcomes.
Final question, then. You've had a long and interesting career
Yes.
in the world of measurement and marketing effectiveness. You're now leading marketing science for one of the biggest platforms in the world, doing incredible stuff. Give us a sense of the future of measurement. When you think about everything you've seen in your career and the stuff you see now in your current role, what do you think as marketeers we should be expecting to come down the train tracks in the measurement space 2 to 3 years out?
I'll tell you what I care about first and foremost
Right.
is, by 2030, I expect the careers of my directs and my team, I expect them to be market leaders. I'm the cheerleader for them. So for me, that's the thing I'm focused on. But in terms of industry-wise, I think, here's my hunch. I think that for all this new technology that we're getting, where I expect the more actual useful innovation is on a lot of the automation and the classification of usually inside every organization, how many times have we struggled with systems and data sets that we just can't easily connect to? The CRM system, the sales system, the tracking. There's all these data sets that are often difficult to connect to. It sounds super boring, but they're more that there's innovation around systems that can help to find abstract data, call it large linear models or whatever. But the more internal organization that you can have that brings that. Think about how many brand lift studies or conversion lift studies or mixed models will an organization have? How often do they sit in the server? How do they sit on some deck? Can you quickly aggregate? Tell me across my organization, what is the average learnings that I have of all the work that I'm doing? And tell me which sales vertical teams are doing the best. Tell me what failures did I have. That kind of context, I think by 2030, the faster access to an insight to then go back and execute on measurement, I expect that to be a lot faster, and that in itself is going to give a tremendous amount of productivity.
George, that's a fascinating insight. I'm looking forward to seeing you and your team take over the world. It's going to be great. Massive thank you, George.
Thank you, my friend.